Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Bear Facts Friday. It's Friday, October 16th, and glad that you tuned in with us. This week, as always, we're going to filter out the noise and give you a little bit of update on the news, add a little bit of perspective as well into the mix. So to start out with, wanted to update you on some recent guidance that the SBA released related to the PPP loans. And specifically, it's for loans that were $50,000 or less, or if you have affiliated companies, really a total aggregate of $2 million or less. But the 50,000 number is one where they have determined that they would like to allow you to streamline the forgiveness process. And so there's actually a simplified form. It's called the Form 3508S that you'll be able to use. And what it does is it allows you to bypass some of the more potentially complicated and time-consuming calculations related to full-time employee status and salary reduction calculations that you would otherwise have to document and perform. Now, you're still going to be required to document payroll and non-payroll costs, but they're looking to just make it a little bit easier for you. And out of the more than 5 million PPP loans that were issued, this applies to about 2/3 of them that are out there. So potentially something that applies to you and hopefully will make your life a little bit easier. But definitely recommend that you check in with your banker if you haven't already heard from them and see what they're advising as of this point, because some banks that we've talked to and bankers that we've talked to are actually still recommending to hold off for the time being. So talk to your banker, potentially talk to your CPA to see the best course of action for right now. All right, and then moving on to perspective, time to move to cash. That's the headline, but it's also the question. I have had this conversation with a number of people lately, including at lunch earlier this week with someone. And the question is, hey, with the upcoming election, is it the right time to move to cash, or should I move to cash just in general? And as always, the answer is just not that simple. I can give you a really straightforward answer, but the rationale behind it deserves some explanation. And what it all centers around is this idea of, if you were to move to cash, the next logical question that might sound cliche, but it's really, really important is, well, when do I get back in? And it's something that is maybe easier to theorize about, or to sit back and say, well, I know what I would do in that instance, but would you really? Would you really know what to do? And let me give you two scenarios. Let's say you move to cash today, or whatever day it might be, and you were sitting there on the sidelines. Well, when would you get back in? And ask yourself that. Really try to put yourself in the shoes of being in a particular situation. I'll give you two scenarios. One is, if you move to cash, would you get back in when the market was down 20% without any other knowledge or any other hindsight of what were to happen? The answer is that would be really difficult to do, because if the market was down 20%, in that moment, it's natural for anybody to feel like that downward momentum has got to keep going. If it's only down 20, it could be down much more than that as well. So that probably wouldn't be the right time to get back in the heat of the moment. And then conversely, just the opposite. If you were sitting in cash and the market were up 20% from where you sold, I mean, if you sold something for $100 and now it's selling for 120, is that going to be the time for you to get back in? Are you going to feel good about doing that, knowing that you just lost out on that upside and you can't get that back? That's gone for forever. That's also a really tough decision. And so again, it might sound cliche, and it's easy to sit back now when you're not in the position, but that is the danger of potentially moving to cash. Is just knowing and having an idea of, when do I get back in? And even if you do know that, are you going to be better off than if you had not done anything to begin with? Or if instead of moving to cash, you had done something like a rebalance to bring yourself back in line with your investment strategy and with your risk capacity. So happy to talk more to you about that, but certainly a topic that is coming to mind more and more frequently, and understandably so, with the way that 2020 has gone and with the upcoming election. But that's what we've got for you this week. We appreciate you joining in. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.